For 45 years, the world believed the debate was settled. Capitalism won, socialism lost. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Free markets triumphed over central planning. Competition beat bureaucracy. And the lesson seemed clear. Private enterprise with minimal state interference was the superior economic system. End of story. But in 2026, a war in the Middle East is rewriting that conclusion. Not with theory, with missiles. Iran, a country under sanctions for 4 decades, is fighting the wealthiest military power on Earth. And it's not losing. It's bleeding American forces economically, technologically, and strategically, using a system that's neither pure capitalism nor pure socialism, something else entirely. A hybrid. The Cold War was supposed to answer which system worked better. The United States represented free market capitalism, innovation through competition, wealth through private ownership. The Soviet Union represented state planning, equality through control, stability through centralization. For 50 years they competed, and when the USSR collapsed, capitalism declared victory. The market had beaten the plan. But look at what's happening in 2026. America operates the most expensive military on Earth. $13 billion aircraft carriers, $3 million Tomahawk missiles, $11 to $33 million spent trying to intercept a single Iranian missile. The entire defense industry runs on capitalist principles, private contractors, profit maximization, shareholder returns. If you're watching this conflict and wondering why the wealthiest nation is struggling against a sanctioned regional power, stay with me. Because the answer isn't military, it's structural. The economic system designed to win the Cold War is failing the hot war. Iran doesn't operate like the Soviet Union. The Soviets tried pure state control. Everything centralized, everything planned, no market signals, no private incentives. And it failed catastrophically. Factories met quotas by producing unusable goods. Innovation stalled. The economy couldn't adapt. By the 1980s, the USSR was decades behind technologically. It could build rockets, but couldn't make refrigerators. The system was too rigid, too slow, too detached from reality. Iran learned from that failure. They didn't copy the Soviet model. They built something different. The Revolutionary Guards control strategic sectors, oil, missiles, drones, military production. But private companies operate alongside them. Small firms manufacture drone components. Mid-sized factories produce missile parts. The state directs, the private sector executes. It's centralized control with decentralized production. A hybrid economy optimized for asymmetric warfare. This structure creates advantages pure systems can't match. The state ensures strategic priorities get funded. Missile programs don't depend on quarterly earnings. Drone development doesn't answer to shareholders. Meanwhile, private producers stay nimble. They innovate, they adapt. They compete for state contracts. The system combines Soviet-style strategic direction with capitalist-style operational flexibility, and it's working. Look at the cost asymmetry. Iran's Fat H-2 hypersonic missile costs roughly $200,000. America fires 11 interceptors trying to stop it. Each interceptor costs between $1 and $3 million. Total defensive cost, $11 to $33 million. And most miss anyway. The attacker spends $200,000. The defender spends $33 million. That's not a battle, that's economic attrition. Scale that across 1,000 missiles. Iran spends $200 million. America spends $11 billion to $33 billion on defense alone. Not counting the aircraft carriers, not counting the bases, not counting the troop deployments, just the interceptors. And America is $33 trillion in debt. Every dollar spent on defense is borrowed. Every interception attempt adds to a deficit that's already unsustainable. This is where capitalism's logic breaks down in warfare. The system rewards profit maximization. Defense contractors build the most expensive systems possible because expensive means higher margins, longer contracts, bigger budgets. An F-35 costs $80 million per unit. Total program cost exceeds $1.7 trillion. The market incentive was never to build the cheapest effective weapon. It was to build the most profitable one. Iran's hybrid system doesn't have that problem. The state prioritizes effectiveness over profit. Build what wins wars, not what maximizes returns. Private firms still compete. But they compete on performance, not price inflation. The result is cheap, effective, mass-producible weapons. Drones costing $2,000 that destroy billion-dollar radars. Missiles costing $100,000 that evade multi-million-dollar defenses. The United States faced this before. In the 1980s, it used asymmetric cost advantages to bankrupt the Soviet Union. Reagan forced Moscow into an arms race it couldn't afford. Star Wars, stealth technology, cruise missiles. The Soviets tried to match American spending. They couldn't. Their economy collapsed under the weight. Now Iran is running the same playbook against America. Force the hegemon to spend more than it can sustain. But there's a difference. The Soviet Union was trying to match America's technological sophistication. That was expensive. Iran isn't matching. It's undermining. You don't need a $13 billion carrier to contest the Strait. You need $200,000 missiles. You don't need billion-dollar radars. You need $2,000 drones. Asymmetry doesn't mean inferiority. It means efficiency. This exposes capitalism's core vulnerability in modern conflict. The system that won the Cold War was designed for industrial-scale production competition. Build more tanks, more planes, more ships, outproduce the enemy, and capitalism excelled at that. American factories in World War II produced at rates the Axis couldn't match. Private enterprise scaled fast. Innovation happened rapidly. The market worked. But 2026 isn't World War II. This isn't industrial competition. It's cost competition. And capitalism's incentive structure is misaligned. Defense contractors profit from expensive systems. Congress funds expensive systems because they create jobs in key districts. The Pentagon buys expensive systems because budget justification requires big numbers. Everyone in the chain benefits from cost inflation, except the nation footing the bill. Meanwhile, Iran's system aligns incentives differently. The state wants cost-effective lethality. Private firms compete to deliver it. There's no lobbying for budget bloat, no revolving door between industry and government inflating prices. The hybrid structure keeps costs down while maintaining innovation. It's not perfect, but it's optimized for the war it's actually fighting. This is the lesson the Cold War missed. The Soviet Union didn't lose because socialism is inherently inferior. It lost because rigid central planning couldn't adapt. But that doesn't mean pure capitalism is superior. It means adaptability is superior. And hybrid systems, when structured correctly, adapt faster than pure systems. They combine state capacity with market flexibility, strategic direction with operational innovation. Look at China, another hybrid. The state controls strategic sectors, technology, energy, finance. But private companies drive growth. Huawei, Alibaba, Tencent. The government sets priorities. The market executes them. And China went from poverty to the second largest economy in 40 years. Not through pure capitalism, not through pure socialism, through selective combination of both. Iran is smaller, poorer, under sanctions for decades. But the structural logic is the same. Use state power where markets fail. Use markets where state planning fails. In warfare, that means state-directed weapons development with private sector production. In economics, it meant building a resistance economy that survives isolation, self-sufficiency in key sectors, market activity in others. The hybrid survives where pure systems collapse. America's defense industry, by contrast, is pure capitalism. And pure capitalism produces pure profit-seeking behavior. Lockheed Martin doesn't build the best weapon for America. It builds the best weapon for Lockheed Martin. Those incentives aren't aligned. And in a cost-sensitive war, misaligned incentives are fatal. Because Iran doesn't need to outspend America. It needs America to outspend itself into bankruptcy. The financial mechanics are already visible. U.S. defense spending exceeds $800 billion annually. But that's peacetime. Active war in the Gulf doubles or triples costs. Add ground troops and it goes higher. Meanwhile, the national debt is $33 trillion. Interest payments alone exceed $600 billion per year. The arithmetic doesn't work. America can't sustain this spending without collapsing its own economy. Iran knows this. That's why their strategy isn't military victory. It's economic exhaustion. Force America to defend expensive infrastructure with expensive systems, then attack with cheap weapons. Each strike costs America magnitudes more than it costs Iran. The defender bleeds financially. The attacker stays solvent. It's asymmetric warfare at the fiscal level. History provides the template. The Soviet Union collapsed not from military defeat, from economic unsustainability. The cost of maintaining empire exceeded the revenue it generated. Afghanistan drained resources. The arms race drained more. Eventually, the system couldn't support itself. The USSR dissolved, not because socialism was morally wrong, because it was financially untenable. America is running the same trajectory, not because capitalism is morally wrong, because it's structurally misaligned for this type of conflict. The system that won the industrial Cold War is losing the asymmetric hot war. And the alternative isn't socialism, it's hybridization. Combine what works, discard what doesn't, adapt or lose. The 2026 war is proving that ideological purity is a liability. Pure capitalism optimizes for profit, not victory. Pure socialism optimizes for control, not innovation. Hybrid systems optimize for both. They're messy, they're contradictory, they offend purists, but they work. And in warfare, working is all that matters. The question isn't whether capitalism or socialism is superior. The question is which combinations of state power and market forces produce the best outcomes under specific conditions. And the answer changes depending on the challenge. Industrial production, capitalism excels. Strategic coordination during crisis, state power excels. Asymmetric cost warfare, hybrid models excel. If this changed how you see the current conflict, share it. Because what's happening in 2026 isn't just a regional war, it's the death of Cold War economic assumptions, and the birth of something neither side expected: